The day a congresswoman destroyed Piers Morgan live on TV. Picture this. Piers Morgan, sitting behind his desk with that trademark smirk, completely unaware that in the next 30 seconds, his entire world would collapse. The studio lights were blazing, cameras rolling live, and across from him sat a calm, composed woman who was about to deliver the most devastating legal beatdown in television history. What happened next broke the internet and sent shockwaves through the entire media industry. This is the story of how Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett walked into Piers Morgan's studio and changed everything. The setup, to understand the magnitude of what was about to unfold, you need to know who these two people really are. Piers Morgan, 59 years old, worth $20 million, built his career on controversy. From newspaper editor in London to CNN host his current show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, he's made millions by pushing buttons and asking brutal questions. He's interviewed everyone from Donald Trump to world leaders, and he's never backed down from anyone. Piers has one golden rule. He's untouchable behind that interviewer's desk. But sitting across from him was someone he completely underestimated. Jasmine Crockett represents Texas's 30th Congressional District. But here's what Piers didn't account for. Before politics, she was a civil rights attorney who built her reputation in Dallas courtrooms. At 43, she's not your typical politician. She doesn't just tweet angry responses or give heated interviews. When someone damages her reputation, she knows exactly what to do about it. And for months, Piers had been making it personal. The build-up, week after week on his show, Piers had been taking shots at Jasmine. He called her just another woke Democrat who doesn't understand real America. He questioned her intelligence, mocked her legal background, and suggested she was only in Congress because of diversity politics. Each comment got more cutting, more personal. Most politicians would have ignored it or fired back on Twitter. But Jasmine Crockett isn't most politicians. She's a trained attorney who knows that defamation isn't just a political talking point. It's a real legal concept with real consequences. And Piers Morgan was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The interview begins. The interview started normally enough. Piers opened with his dramatic flair. Tonight, I'm joined by Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who's been making waves in Washington. Thank you for having me, Piers, Jasmine replied, her voice steady and professional. But viewers who knew her well could see something different in her eyes, a sharpness that suggested she hadn't come just to chat. Piers started with softball questions, but anyone who'd watched his show knew this was just a warm-up. He was building to something bigger, and Jasmine seemed to be waiting for it. Then came the loaded question. You've been quite vocal about media accountability lately. Some might say you're trying to silence conservative voices. What's your response to that? Instead of getting defensive, Jasmine smiled. Actually, Piers, I'm glad you brought up media accountability, because that's exactly why I'm here tonight. Something in her tone made Piers pause. For just a second, his confident expression flickered. The trap springs. Well, as a member of the media myself, Piers continued, I believe in free speech and the right to ask tough questions. Sometimes politicians don't like hearing the truth about their records. Absolutely, Jasmine agreed. But there's a difference between tough questions and defamatory statements. Wouldn't you agree? Piers laughed, but it sounded forced. Oh, come on. Politicians complaining about media coverage is as old as democracy itself. You can't sue everyone who criticizes you. That's when Jasmine's expression changed completely. The polite smile disappeared, replaced by the focused look of an attorney who just heard exactly what she needed to hear. Actually, Piers, that's where you're wrong, she said calmly. You absolutely can sue someone for defamation when they make false statements that damage your reputation. And that's exactly what I'm here to do. The bombshell. Piers shifted uncomfortably. Are you threatening to sue me, Congresswoman? Not threatening, Piers. I'm actually doing it. Jasmine reached into her briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of legal documents. These are the papers for a defamation lawsuit I'm filing against you and Talk TV. The color drained from Piers' face. For a man who built a career on being unshockable, he looked genuinely stunned. You can't be serious. Dead serious, Jasmine replied. placing the documents on the desk between them. For months, you've made false and defamatory statements about me on this very show. You've questioned my intelligence, my qualifications, and my right to serve in Congress. You could feel the energy in the studio shift completely. Camera operators looked confused. Producers were probably having panic attacks. This was live television, and their host was being served with legal papers on air. The evidence. Jasmine opened the document folder and began reading specific examples with lawyer-like precision. On March 15th, you called me an unqualified diversity hire who doesn't understand basic economics. On April 3rd, you suggested I was too stupid to understand foreign policy. On May 12th, you claimed I was clearly in Congress only because of her race and gender, not her abilities. With each example, Piers' face got redder. These weren't general political criticisms. They were specific personal attacks that Jasmine had documented with dates, times, and exact quotes. These statements are not only false, Jasmine continued, but they're also defamatory. As a former practicing attorney, I know exactly what constitutes actionable defamation. And as someone with a J.D. from University of Houston Law Center and a decade of legal experience before entering Congress, I'm quite capable of proving these statements damage my professional reputation. The knockout punch. But Jasmine wasn't done. She delivered the knockout blow with devastating precision. Would you like to know what I was doing before I came to Congress? I was literally teaching constitutional law as an adjunct professor. I have published articles on constitutional interpretation. The state bar certified me as a specialist in civil rights law. She looked directly at Piers. So here's my question for you. When you made those statements, did you bother to research my background? Did you look up my education, my legal experience, my published work? Or did you just assume that because I'm a young black woman from Texas, I must not be qualified? Piers opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. How do you answer a question like that on live television without admitting either that you didn't do basic research or that your assumptions were based on prejudice? The studio audience burst into sustained, enthusiastic applause. The final blow. I want to be very clear about something, Jasmine continued, acknowledging the applause. I believe in free speech. I believe in a free press. But I also believe in truth, accuracy, and basic respect for facts. She held up the legal documents one more time. These papers represent more than just a lawsuit. They represent a line that shouldn't be crossed. You can criticize my policies, my votes, my positions on issues. That's fair game. But when you make false statements about my qualifications, my intelligence, or my right to hold office, that crosses into defamation territory. Then came the final devastating detail. The lawsuit seeks $5 million in damages. Piers' jaw literally dropped. $5 million for hurt feelings? For defamation, Jasmine corrected. And it's not just about money. We're also seeking an injunction requiring you to issue a public retraction and prohibiting future defamatory statements. Think of it as a legal timeout for someone who apparently never learned the difference between criticism and character assassination. The aftermath. As the segment wound down, Jasmine maintained her professional composure. I want to thank you for having me on your show, Piers, and I look forward to seeing you in court. The usually quick-witted Piers could only manage a week. Well, this has certainly been educational. Yes, Jasmine smiled, standing up and gathering her documents. It has been. Within minutes of the interview ending, social media went nuclear. The clip was shared faster than any political content in recent memory. Hashtag Jasmine Crockett lawsuit was trending worldwide within 30 minutes. Memes of Piers' shocked face flooded timelines. Legal experts began analyzing the strength of her case. The phrase "getting Crockett" entered the political lexicon as shorthand for facing legal consequences for making false statements about public figures. The ripple effect. The impact extended far beyond social media. Talk TV executives went into emergency meetings. Other networks began implementing stricter fact-checking requirements for opinion shows. Media personalities started prefacing their commentary with disclaimers. Law schools incorporated the case into their curricula as a real-time example of defamation law in action. Jasmine's campaign raised over $500,000 in small donations within 48 hours, with donors leaving comments like, "Thank you for standing up to bullies," and finally, "Someone who fights back with facts instead of just tweets." The larger message: this confrontation represented something bigger than just one lawsuit. It symbolized a shift in how political figures, especially women of color, were willing to respond to media attacks. Instead of accepting that politics is tough and criticism comes with the job, Jasmine Crockett had drawn a clear line. Her message was crystal clear. Criticize my policies all you want, but attack my qualifications with false statements, and you'll hear from my lawyers. Conclusion: what made this moment so powerful wasn't just that Jasmine fought back. It was how methodically she dismantled Piers' entire approach. She wasn't emotional or angry. She was precise, factual, and absolutely deadly. In an age where misinformation spreads like wildfire and personal attacks pass for journalism, Jasmine Crockett showed that there are still consequences for crossing certain lines. She proved that sometimes the best response to a bully isn't a tweet or an angry interview. It's a lawsuit served live on television. The days of consequence-free character assassination disguised as journalism might finally be coming to an end. And it all started with one fearless congresswoman who walked into a studio with a briefcase full of legal documents and the knowledge to use them. As this legal battle continues to unfold, one thing is certain. In politics, just like in law, facts matter more than opinions. And sometimes it takes a former civil rights attorney turned congresswoman to remind the world of that fundamental truth.